Hi everyone, welcome back to the Behind the Scenes series. Today, I'll be walking you through this time-lapse build of the healthcare dashboard. If you'd like to see how the finished dashboard works, there's a link above where you can explore its full functionality in detail. All the resources you'll need are available for download in the description below, so you can follow along and try it out on your own. Let's dive straight in. We'll begin with a blank Power BI file, and the first step is to bring in the data from Excel. Once the file is selected, choose the worksheet data, followed by Select. And then click Transform Data to open the Power Query Editor. From here, instead of creating a new calendar table, we'll reuse an existing one. Simply copy the DimDate table from the template and paste it into this file. Once that's done, click Close and apply to load everything into the model. With the data now loaded, switch over to the table view to organize the fields. Select the month field, then go to Sort by column and choose month number. This ensures the months display in the correct chronological order across your visuals. After sorting the table fields, head over to the report view and begin designing the dashboard layout. Go to Canvas Background. Browse for your image file, and apply the intended background design. With the background now in place, we can begin adding the main header elements for the report. Start by inserting a new text box for the dashboard title. Once added, set the font size to 24. Change the font type to Consolis. Make the font bold, and enter Healthcare Dashboard. Next, refine the appearance of the text box by adjusting its size and positioning it neatly at the top left corner of the canvas. Finally, turn off the text box background to keep the design clean. With the title in place, we can now add the year selector. Go to the Build pane and insert a button slicer. Then add the year field to the value. After that, return to the Format pane. Resize the slicer and position it to the top right section of the canvas so it balances the title. Also turn off the background so it sits naturally within the layout, and disable the visual title. Under Slicer Settings, turn on Force Selection to ensure only one year is selected at a time. Then, under the multi-button layout, set the uniform gap between the buttons to 5. Next, under the callout, format the value by changing the font color to dark gray, and setting the alignment to center for a more balanced appearance. With the callout styling completed, we can now move on to the Buttons section. Under the Shape settings, increase the corner radius to 9 to give the buttons a modern finish. Then switch the padding from Default to Custom, and set all the sides to 0 for a tighter and more compact button layout. Turn off the background to keep it minimal too. And proceed to change the border color to a light gray. Once that's done, switch to the selected state to define how the active selection appears. Turn on the background and turn off the border to clearly highlight the active selection. Now, let's move on to the next stage of the build. To create a dedicated space for all our DAX measures, go to Enter Data for a new table. Name the table Measure Table and click Load. Once the table is created, expand the Data pane, right-click on Measure Table, and select New Measure to add the first measure. Apply the DAX formula provided in the BI template for the patient count. After adding the measure, delete the default column 1 since we won't be needing it. This keeps the measure table clean and tidy. Next, we'll create the remaining measures required for this dashboard. To keep the video moving, I'll fast forward through this section, but don't worry, all the DAX formulas are included in the downloadable BI template. And if you'd like to see how to group your DAX measures into folders for easier navigation, feel free to check out the link above. I've included a quick walkthrough there. Once the measures are ready, we can begin building the dashboard visuals. Insert a new card visual, and assign the patient's measure to it. Then refine the card format by resizing the card and repositioning it so it fits within the allocated section of the dashboard. Also turn off the background before closing the size and style section. Under multi-card layout, turn off the background as well. And under the cards section, proceed to disable the border, divider, and background to achieve a clean, minimal design. Under the callout, modify the label setting by setting the label position to top and reduce the horizontal gap to 0. After that, switch from all to the patient's card. And to show the values in full, set the display units to none. Once the first card is completed, duplicate it to maintain a consistent layout and save time on formatting. For the duplicated card, replace the field with Bill Selected Year label. Then proceed to rename the label to billing amount. After renaming the field, reposition the card so it aligns neatly beside the first card. Repeat the process again by duplicating the card. This time, replace the field with patient variance % so the card displays the year-on-year variance for the patient numbers. For this new card, reduce the size of the card and carefully align it at the corner of the patient count card. After that, move on to the multi-card layout to set its uniform padding to 0. Continue to the card setting and change its padding to 0 also to minimize any unnecessary spacing. Then, under callout, refine the display by reducing the font size to 14, changing the color to gray for a softer secondary emphasis, and aligning the value to the right, so it sits neatly beside the main KPI figure. Finally, turn off the label to keep the design clean. With the patient variance card now completed, duplicate it to create a matching indicator for the billing amount variance. For this duplicated card, replace the field with the measure bill variance. After that, position it neatly beside the billing amount KPI to complete the key metrics section. Next, we'll move on to building the rounded bar chart for the monthly patient comparison. Start by inserting a clustered column chart. Add month to the x-axis, and then place both patient prior year and patient's selected year onto the y-axis. Once the fields are in place, rename the first field to prior year and the second field to selected year for better clarity in the legend. With the data set up, return to the Format pane to resize the chart and carefully position it within the panel so it aligns cleanly with the surrounding visuals. Disable the background too. And turn off the title. Next, go into the x-axis settings and remove the title. Continuing on, for the y-axis, we'll make it dynamic. Start by clicking on the FX button for the minimum value. Select the minimum field, and then click OK to apply it. Now, repeat the same process for the maximum value by clicking on FX again, selecting the maximum field, and confirming the setting. Once that's done, turn off both the values and the title to simplify the visual. After that, modify the legend by repositioning it to the top right corner of the chart, reducing the font size to 8 for a more compact appearance, and turning off the legend title for a cleaner visual layout. Then go to the columns section. Under Layout, increase the space between categories to 52%. Following that, format each series individually by changing the prior year bar's color to white so they stand out against the background, while setting the selected year bars to black to create a stronger focal point for the current year values. Next, we'll use the error bars to create a rounded bar effect. Start with the prior year series and enable the error bars. Set the upper bound to patient prior year, and the lower bound to 0. Under the bar settings, turn on Match the Series Color and set the border size to 0. To create the rounded ends for the bars, move down to the Markers settings, select a circular shape, and increase the marker size to 7. Repeat the same steps for the selected year series by first enabling error bars. Then, set the upper bound to patients, and the lower bound to the same field 0. Also expand the bar options to enable Match the Series Color, and remove the border. Continue to the Markers setting, select the circle shape, and increase its size to 7. Now that the first panel is complete, the next step is to establish the dashboard structure by adding the section headers. Insert a new text box and increase the font size to 14 so the text stands out more clearly. Then enter patient admission for the first section header. Once the text is added, resize the text box and position it at the top of the panel so it anchors the section clearly. Disable the background too. With that done, we'll now duplicate the text box to maintain consistent formatting across the dashboard. Replace the title with patient distribution by locations to label the map section clearly. Then carefully position it neatly within its designated panel. Repeat this process again by duplicating the text box to save time and maintain the same styling. Change the text to billing by Insurer. And then reposition the text box in its corresponding panel. Finally, we'll create the last section header by duplicating the text box once more to reuse the same formatting we've already established. Update the text to Department Performance. And then proceed to position it in the last panel. After completing the section headers, we'll move on to the subsection labels in the Patient Admission panel. Insert another text box for the subheader. This time, set the font size to 12 and enter type. After entering the title, adjust the text box size and position it neatly below the main header. Turn off the background too. To save time and ensure a consistent design, duplicate this text box for the second subheader. Update the duplicated text to average metrics. And position it in the lower half of the panel to label the metrics section. At this stage, the overall dashboard framework is already taking shape. We can begin building the visuals for the patient admission section. Insert a 100% stacked bar chart. Then assign the patient's field to the x-axis. And add type to the legend. Once the fields are added, resize the visual carefully and position it neatly beneath the subheader so it fits comfortably within the allocated panel space. Remove the background too. Also disable the chart title. Next, under the x-axis settings, turn off the values to keep the visual clean. For the legend, turn it off as well, since the colors will be clearly labeled for each category. Now, move to the bars section. For the layout options, turn on both reverse order and sort by value. Also reduce the space between categories to 0. With the layout set, we can now format each series. Select the elective series and change its color to green. Then switch to the urgent series and set its color to light green. Finally, for the emergency series, set its color to pale green. This creates a subtle gradient effect that aligns with the design theme. Following this, turn on the data labels. Then adjust the label position to inside end, allowing the values to sit neatly within the bars. After that, enable the label title as well. Then set its font size to 10. And change the color to black so the labels remain clear. For the detail, format the values by increasing its font size to 10, applying the same black color to match the title, and setting the decimal places to 1 for a cleaner display. To create the subtle dotted dividers between the categories, we'll use the reference lines. Click on Add Line and set its type to x-axis constant line. For the value, click on FX and bind it to the patient selected year line 1 measure, so the line updates dynamically based on the selected data. Then change its color to gray, and reduce the line width to 1, so it complements the visual without overpowering the chart itself. Repeat the same step to add a second line. Again, set the type to x-axis constant line. This time, link the value dynamically to the patient selected year line to measure, so the second divider adjusts automatically too. For a uniform look across both lines, change the color to gray as well, and reduce the width to 1. With the admission type visual completed, we can now structure the area for the average metrics. Insert a new text box. format it to match the dashboard styling by setting the font size to 9 and changing the font color to gray for a softer secondary emphasis. Also center align the text before entering length of stay as the first metric label. Then resize the text box to a suitable size and position it neatly at the section for the average metrics. Turn off the background too. To maintain consistent formatting, duplicate the text box instead of creating a new one. Replace the text with patient age. Then align it neatly in the center position of the average metrics section. Repeat the same process once more by duplicating the text box again. Update the duplicated text to billing amount. And finally, placing it into the final position to complete the set of metric headers. With the subheaders in place, we can now add the cards for the average metrics. Insert a new card visual and assign the length of stay average selected year measure to it. Rename the field to days so the unit is clearly indicated. Then adjust the size of the card so it fits proportionately, and position it beneath the corresponding header. Turn off the background as well to help the card blend seamlessly into the dashboard design. Then, under the multi-card layout, disable the background again to remove any unnecessary visual layers. Continue into the card's settings and turn off the border, divider, and background to create a cleaner and more minimal presentation style. Under the callout settings, format the value by reducing the font size to 20, and center aligning the text so the metric remains visually balanced within the card. Then move down to the label settings, reduce the font size to 10, and set the horizontal gap to 0 so the label sits closely beneath the main value. Once the first average metric card is completed, duplicate it to maintain uniform formatting across the remaining KPI cards. For the duplicated card, replace the field with age average selected year. Next, rename the field to years to clearly indicate the unit of measurement. Then align the card neatly beneath the second metric header. Now, repeat the same process once more by duplicating the card again. Replace the field with bill average selected year to display the average billing metric. Then, proceed to rename the field to per bill so the metric context is clearly understood, and carefully position the card beneath the final header to complete the average metrics area. With all three KPI cards now formatted and aligned, we can now continue to the next section of the build. Start by inserting a map visual from the build pane. Then assign location to the location field, and patients to the bubble size field. Also place percentage of total into the tooltips, so users can view additional context when hovering over the map. Once the fields are configured, reposition the map within its allocated panel, and resize the map visual so it fills the available space. Remove the background too, so the map integrates smoothly into the dashboard panel. Also disable the title. Next, move into the map settings and change the map style to grayscale to create a softer and more neutral base map. Continue to the bubbles section, increase the bubble size to 20, and change the bubble color to red for contrast against the grayscale map. With the map visual now completed, we can continue building the next section of the dashboard. Open the build pane again and insert a donut chart. From here, add Insurer to the legend and the measure billing amount to the values. After assigning the fields, carefully position the chart within its allocated panel space, then fine-tune its size so the visual fills the section proportionately. Turn off the background too. Also disable the chart title. Next, turn off the legend as we'll replace it with a custom interactive legend later. For the slices settings, adjust the spacing by increasing the inner radius to 70%. Now, we'll apply a harmonized color palette across the Insurer categories. Start with the Bell Care series and apply the darkest shade of blue to establish the starting point of the color gradient. Next, move to the Dalrams series and assign a slightly lighter shade of blue to create a smooth visual transition. Then switch to the Globe Pro series and update it to a medium blue tone that continues the color progression. After that, select the Heltech series and change its color to a lighter blue shade to soften the palette. Finally, for the Metacard series, apply the lightest blue tone to complete the gradient styling across the donut chart. With the series colors configured, turn off the detail labels to keep the chart uncluttered. To enhance interactivity, we'll now add a slicer to act as a custom legend for the donut chart. Insert a button slicer, and add the Insurer field into the Values area so each Insurer appears as an individual selectable button. Once added, resize the slicer and position it to the left of the donut chart so it aligns neatly within the panel. Disable the background too. Also remove the title. From here, head to the multi-card layout settings and set the rows to 5 and columns to 1 to display the Insurers in a vertical list. Continue into the callout settings, format the values by reducing the font size to 9, and changing the text color to a softer black for a more subtle appearance. Then switch to the selected state. Set the text to bold and change the color to the same black so the selection stands out clearly. After that, move down into the button settings. Change the padding from default to custom, then update the left padding to 10 while setting both the top and bottom padding to 0. Also turn off both the button background and border for a cleaner look. Then enable the accent bar, expand its settings, and click on FX to apply the dynamic colors. Change the format style to field value, and link it to the Insurer color measure so each Insurer automatically displays its assigned color. Now increase the width of the accent bar to 6 so the color indicators become more visible. With the custom legend now completed, we'll move on to the final panel, where we'll build the department performance table. Start by inserting a table visual. Next, populate the table by first adding the department field into the columns area, followed by patients, and then bill selected year label. After that, continue by adding length of stay average selected year, age average selected year, and finally bill average selected year. With all the fields now added, rename them to make the labels more user-friendly. Update bill selected year label to billing amount. Change length of stay average selected year to average stay in days. Rename age average selected year to average age in years. And finally update bill average selected year to average billing per bill. Once the column names are updated, expand the build pane and fine-tune the table placement within the final panel. Then resize the table carefully so it fills the available panel space. Also turn off the background. From here, we can move into the grid section and reduce the horizontal grid line width to 0. Next, update the border color to orange so it aligns more closely with the dashboard's overall color palette. Then continue by adjusting the row padding to 4 and setting the global font size to 9, keeping the table compact and well balanced within the panel. After that, format the value by increasing the font size to 10. And then applying the same light blue panel color to the background. Set the alternate background to the same color too. Next, we'll format the column headers by changing the text color to a softer black, applying the same panel background color, and center aligning the text for a cleaner and more balanced layout. Under the header options, turn off auto size width to manually control the width of each column and fine-tune the spacing more precisely. Then move down to the totals section and turn off the values since totals are not required for this table layout. Now fine-tune the individual columns using the specific column settings. Starting with the department column, enable Apply to Header to set its alignment to the left. Next, select the billing amount column and align the values to the right for better readability of the numeric figures. Continue by selecting the average stay column and set its alignment to the right as well. Repeat the same formatting for the average age column by aligning the values to the right. Finally, select the average billing column and apply right alignment to match the other numeric fields. Once the alignments are completed, manually adjust the column widths so the spacing between each field looks balanced and visually organized across the table. And with that, all the main dashboard visuals are completed. Next, we'll move on to the supporting elements. First, let's rename the current page to Dashboard so it is clearly identified as the main reporting page. Once that's done, add a new page. Then take a moment to rename this new page to Tooltip for clarity. For the Tooltip page, we'll begin by setting up the canvas background. Change the color to a light blue to match the overall dashboard theme. With the page background configured, insert a new card visual and add the patients field to display the selected year's patient count. Next, rename the label to selected year. After the field has been renamed, resize the card so it fits proportionately within the layout, then position it carefully, and adjust the padding by increasing both the top and left padding to 12. Disable the background too. From there, move into the multi-card layout settings. Set the padding to 0 and remove the background here as well. Next, continue into the card settings. First, enable the individual padding, then set the left padding to 15, while keeping both the top and bottom padding at 0. For a clean look, turn off the border, divider, and background. Following that, turn on the accent bar to add a visual indicator. Format the accent bar by changing its color to black to align with the selected year series, and increasing its width to 6 to make the color indicator more prominent. Now we'll format the values shown in the card. Under the callout section, we'll start by reducing the font size to 12, so the metric fits comfortably within the tooltip area. Then move to the label settings, reduce the font size to 9, and set the horizontal gap to 0 so the label sits neatly beneath the value. With the first tooltip card completed, duplicate it so we can maintain consistency across the tooltip design. For the duplicated card, replace the field with patient prior year, and rename the label to prior year, so it displays the corresponding comparison value. Next, position the duplicated card above the first card, allowing users to compare both values easily. Then, return to the card settings and update the accent bar color from black to white, matching the color used for the prior year bars in the chart. With the values cards now in place, we can move on to creating the header of the tooltip. Insert another card visual and add the month field to the values area. Once the field has been added, resize the card appropriately and position it near the top left corner, so it acts as a clear header for the tooltip. Next, we'll adjust the spacing within the card by setting the top padding to 8, the left padding to 16, and the bottom padding to 0. Turn off the background as well. From there, continue to the multi-card layout settings. Set the padding to 0 to keep the layout compact, and disable the background here too. After that, head to the cards section and adjust the padding by enabling the individual padding. Set the top padding to 0 again. Then switch off the border, divider, and background to keep the card minimal. Now, we'll format the displayed value. Under the callout settings, reduce the value font size to 15. At the same time, turn off the label entirely. With the month header completed, we can reuse the same formatting for the variance indicator. Duplicate the card and proceed to replace the field with patient variance %2, so the visual displays the year-on-year variance for the selected month. After updating the field, resize the duplicated card and position it in the top right corner. Next, set its top padding to 6, and the left padding to 10, so the content is aligned neatly within the card boundaries. Then move to the callout settings and reduce the value font size to 12. At this stage, all the elements for the tooltips are now ready. To finalize the tooltip setup, click on the blank canvas to deselect all visuals. Open Page Information and change the page type to Tooltip. Next, move down to Canvas Settings and switch the type from Default to Custom. Then resize the canvas so that it wraps closely around the visuals. Now, navigate back to the dashboard page and select the monthly bar chart. In the Properties pane, under the Tooltip settings, choose the Tooltip page from the list to link this custom tooltip to the chart. With the tooltip in place, the next step is to configure the interactions so all visuals respond dynamically to one another. Click on Edit Interactions to enter interaction mode. Start with the monthly trend chart and set its interaction to filter for both the billing by insurer donut chart and the patient admission chart. Next, select the patient admission chart and set its interaction to filter for the monthly trend chart and the insurer donut chart. Then move to the billing by insurer donut chart. Set its interaction to none for the insurer legend slicer, and filter for both the admission type chart and the monthly trend chart. For the insurer legend slicer, set its interaction to none for the donut chart. Continue with the department performance table and set its interaction to filter for the admission type chart, the monthly trend chart, and the insurer donut chart. Finally, select the map visual and set its interaction to filter for the insurer donut chart, the admission type chart, and the monthly trend chart. Once the interactions are configured, click Edit Interactions again to exit editing mode. At this point, the dashboard is fully interactive. Before wrapping up, let's do a quick test to make sure everything is working as expected. Start by selecting 2025 from the year slicer at the top of the dashboard. Next, hover over the charts to verify that the tooltips display the expected information. We can also test the cross-filtering. Select the elective segment from the patient admission chart and notice how the dashboard instantly updates to focus on that patient group. Then review the monthly trend chart, which displays the selected year's patient volume alongside the prior year's values and variance. Next, select an insurer from the billing by insurer chart and observe how the dashboard filters to show information for that provider. Finally, click on a location bubble in the map visual to confirm that the report updates to display metrics for the selected location. And with that, we've completed the full build of this healthcare dashboard from scratch in Power BI. If you're looking for more dashboard tips and templates, be sure to check out my earlier videos. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.